Welcome, everyone, to Season 5, Episode 6 of the Hall of Fame Show. And I'm Kirk Buchner, along with Evan Nolan. And we run NotInHallOfFame.com, the Fictitious Athlete Hall of Fame, Fictitious Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and our main project, or I don't know if it's our main project, but something that we're very passionate about, our most passionate project. We can agree on that. The United States Athletics Hall of Fame. And we just had our little pre-committee meeting on that, how we're sort of going to move forward to get our nominees out there for 2024. So look for that in the upcoming weeks. And we're here to talk about Hall of Fame related news, and sometimes we have a lot to talk about, and this is one of those weeks. We're going to kick off with the Basketball Hall of Fame, a very strange Hall of Fame in some ways, and yet it doesn't get a whole lot of press for its difference, mainly because a lot of the time they get things right. You don't talk about a lot of Basketball Hall of Fame snubs. They announced their finalists for the 2024 class. Now, we don't know how they came up with it. We don't know who came up with it. We don't even know moving forward how many people are voting on it. Do they send a ballot to the committee? Is there a committee? We're told there is on this horrific ESPN article. We're going to tell you all about the Basketball Hall of Fame committee. And they told us nothing other than just trust them. They're fine. Thanks for that.
They're not the committee members you're looking for.
Exactly. Or maybe it is the great, powerful Oz who makes this grandiose decision. So we don't even know.
You know who it really is? It's Jan Wenner. It's Jan Wenner.
He's got some free time.
He does have free time.
Yeah,
that's true. Although if we're Jan Wenner, there'd be fewer African Americans nominated. Wait, did I say that out loud? And no women.
Oh, so he's not there pulling the strings then.
He's not there pulling the strings. Sorry, I didn't mean to make you a little spit take. That just
almost, yeah. Almost. What do you mean Mick Jagger didn't play basketball? Did you see how he moves? I'm sure he could do the Euro step.
Well, I know that JJ Redick would say that Jagger was a better basketball player than Bob Cousy, so we can go from there.
Off the rails already, but I love it.
Yeah, go ahead, continue.
But yeah, either way, we don't know how they're deciding it. Again, if it's a vote or if it's like what the Hockey Hall does, which is they just put everyone together and they decide that day. Doesn't matter, but because we're never going to know. I don't think we'll ever know. For all you know, Evan and I are the ones deciding, and this is a big elaborate ruse that we've concocted just to hide that. We're also Daft Punk. Possible.
We could also be the chain smokers. I mean, you just pick two white guys and they're the chain smokers. So
who's I could be Marshmallow. Is that the guy with the
yeah right, Marshmallow and Deadmau5. There we go.
There you go. All right. They must have. Oh, how do you pick up with if you're in a club? Yeah, I'm Deadmau5. No, you're not. That's what shit. If I was single, that's what I would do.
At some point you're gonna have to show them your equipment, so
I'll just press a button. Download something and there you go.
We're off the rails again. Let's get
again, whose fault was that? Mine. But I'm going to start off with the North American candidates, and someone near and dear to my heart, and maybe not so near and dear for a long time, and that's Vince Carter, who looks like he's going to be entered in the first ballot. And this is actually a great ballot for a lot of people. We've seen in the past where you've got some big, gigantic names that have to be inducted right away. The Basketball Hall also they'll sometimes push things back because I think they want to keep names just for a big ceremony. They do a pretty good job on their ceremony, and they've got a lot of seats to fill. So they've done some shady things in the past by changing the eligibility rules twice to speed up.
Yeah, I mean, that was the weirdest one. They went from 5 to 3 because they're worried about the classes. But I'm like, well, that just makes your problem 3 years down the line. But whatever.
But I think they needed the money because they were renovating.
That is true. They didn't need the money, and they did do the thing where
6 to 5.
And they did do the thing where they even put Bosch as a finalist a couple years ago, just because they thought he'd be overshadowed and it'd be better to have him with Pierce the next year. So,
which, if you're marketing, you're not wrong.
No, it's 100% right.
Yeah,
Bosch was upset about it, but it really had nothing to do with him. No offense to Bosch, but he's not dunking Garnett or Kobe. So
No, but is Bosch a better player overall than the guy we're going to talk about in Vince Carter? And I think that's a very fair question because
Mm-hmm.
there's three guys sort of in that Vince Carter sphere. Tracy McGrady, because they basically, more or less, the Raptors chose Vince over T Mac, and a lot of Raptor
And,
fans argue whether that was the right thing to do.
and they're also cousins, right?
They're also cousins, but they don't seem to get along, or they didn't at the time. I don't know what
They
their
they laugh alike, they talk like at times. No, sorry.
only a few people are going to get that one.
Yeah, I
Amazing.
know. You have to be over the age of at least 40 for that one.
There you go. Never actually saw that show, but I do know that damn theme song when we knew
I
theme
I I,
songs.
I did from Nick at Night. That is
Oh yeah,
the Donna Reed show, right? Back in the day. No, the
oh, it was a Patty
what is it?
Duke show.
Patty Duke. Sorry, wrong one.
Okay. I never saw that one either.
Wrong wayfish blonde girl from the 60s. Continue.
Okay, all right. So when I look at T Mac was first ballot, Bosch is second. Vince is going to go in first ballot because realistically, he's the top player here.
Yeah.
Eight-time All Star, twice an All NBA player. But actually, well, I'll add one big other positive. What's his overall point total? I wrote this down.
Hmm.
25,728. There's 22 players who are behind him who are eligible for the Hall who are in until you get to somebody who's not, which is Tom Chambers. So
Hmm.
it's hard to argue. The ledger against him, I've got a few, but then he turned it all around. For anyone who is a Raptors fan like myself, know that he killed that team. He sulked and moped his way out and destroyed a franchise for a very long period of time. There's no ifs about it. Bill Simmons said in his book of basketball that there's going to be a day, and it probably did happen, that Vince is going to regret how he acted,
Hmm.
and he probably did. Uh, he never finished higher than 10th for the MVP, which is interesting. If
Okay.
you think about that, so never finished higher than that. Again, whined a lot. When you Google his name, the first thing that comes out is dunk. So
Yeah,
he's
right.
known for two dunks mostly in games that really didn't matter. One that wasn't a game because it was the All Star, or it was the dunk contest, and two
Right.
when they destroyed France when he scraped his balls over a 7 foot Frenchman,
Hmm.
which is incredible. I mean, there was actually an oral history of that damn dunk. I found an oral which I don't know what to say about that or what that says about basketball when you're doing that on again something that really didn't matter in the grand scheme of things, but whatever. I've told this story before and I'll tell it again. Where everything sort of changed for me watching Carter was when I went to a Suns game. They were playing Sacramento, and Pauline, my wife, we got fifth row center when because that was at a time when they both stunk. They were both cellar dwellers, and Carter was with the Kings. Carter didn't play much. I don't even remember who won the game, but I was just watching Carter the whole time, and he's acting as a de facto leader, uh, giving advice like he's up all the time to all the younger players. If you would have told Charles Oakley in 2000, there's going to be a teammate of the year award. Oh, okay, well, oh, like in the future. Ah, crap, I might have won that. Yeah, you know who's going to win one is Vince Carter. He would have beat you up. Like it would have
Hmm.
looked at you like you were James Nolan.
Hmm.
So that's not possible. But Vince did win it, earned it, rehabbed his image to the point where he was valuable for a few teams late in his career to have on their bench as an elder statesman, which is a role that every Raptor fan of my generation who watched him at that point in time said there's no way he's having that end of a career, but he did. Uh, he's gonna get in. So, but there's it's one of those things too where there'll never be to me anyone with this amount of points that has so many negatives to him. But I can't say how he's not first ballot, especially in this group. He has to be.
Hmm.
Any
Yeah,
thoughts?
looking at this group, Vince is one of the two names that clearly stands out to me. Um, and probably the number one player. I think the coach here is going to be a shoo-in as well when we get there. Um, yeah, Vince, let me go the second person that's listed for me, because the second person that's listed for me is Chauncey
Yes.
Billups, who Celtics draft pick that we had Chauncey Billups and Joe Johnson same draft, and Rick Pitino traded them for a bucket of chicken wings. But
Extra
Billups,
spicy?
what?
Extra spicy, at least?
No, Pitino? No, you kidding?
Okay.
um, but I mean, he was really good with the Nuggets when he was there, and of course, he was one of the. Would you say he's the? It's when you talk about the 2004 Pistons team, which is such a championship team, which is such an anomaly
Mhm.
in basketball history, really.
Yes.
Because it's five guys, and I'm not sure who is the most important, if that makes sense.
Well,
Uh,
Billups was the MVP, so we have to say him.
I mean, you have to say him, but like Ben Wallace with super important, Tayshaun Prince was super like it's hard to make the argument, but Billups is probably he's the MVP of a team that won the NBA Finals.
Right.
And
I think what holds him back because he's been here before.
yes,
So two things have held him back. He's a tougher groups to get through.
yeah.
B, I think a lot of people might think like I do. It's not so much that the Pistons won; it's just that the Lakers imploded.
I mean, I could see that. But I watch those games. It's not like the Lakers are just like we're not gonna play well all of a sudden. Like
Mhm.
they had a lot of help along the way to get into where they were. Um, but I think that I feel like Billups is the second person here for that. I think Carter gets in, and it wouldn't surprise me if they put a second. It ends up being Billups. Um, but I mean, the main difference here, of course, is that Carter never came close to significant championship,
Mhm.
and Billups was the MVP of a team that won one.
Yeah, and
So,
not only that, I mean, like he was a better two-way player than Vince. You know,
mhm.
he was a multi-time defensive threat, or sorry, threat. What did he was never
He's a
the defensive.
he was on multiple all defense teams.
Yeah, three All NBA. Not only winning the teammate award, but he also won the J. Walter Citizenship Award and the Sportsmanship of the Year.
Yeah.
Or that's those are so we got a high character guy, someone who has gone into coaching and is given back more to the game. So I think this is a great ballot for Chauncey. It's maybe the best one he'll ever see.
It may be the best ballot he ever sees. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think he gets in. We have another interesting one in Walter Davis, uh,
Hmm.
six-time All-Star, Rookie of the Year on a year, and this is something that doesn't happen in basketball. It can happen in hockey every now and then, especially for goalies, and maybe even in baseball here and there. But rarely do you have a basketball player whose best season was his first. That doesn't happen,
Yeah.
and we kind of learned why. Walter Davis might have been an honorary New York Met of the '80s.
Okay.
You know, maybe partying a little bit too much.
I see. I was trying to figure out what you meant by that. I get it now.
Yeah, because I mean, Walter Davis is sort of like my baseball Dwight Gooden.
I can get that.
Yeah, we're I remember as a teenager when I'm looking at Gooden and Strawberry, and it's these two people are Hall of Famers. Lock it in right now, first ballot. And they were both one and done, and both by their own doing,
Hmm.
and both still had enough talent to play until 2000. What if they didn't sabotage their own careers? But they did, and that's neither here nor there. Davis is also interesting too because we found out more about what he did later on, but still six-time All-Star, two-time All NBA. Uh, but it's the 1987 drug bust where he snitched on on his teammates, and a lot of people. I found the old Sports Illustrated Vault article on this, where basically Davis snitched on people to save his own ass,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of why he hasn't got in there yet, despite statistically, in terms of accolades, he belongs.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always going to be a tough one. He's no longer with us, so I don't know if that helps or hurts. I mean, he's not here to sort of defend that, but not a lot of people are even talking about it. And again, we don't even know who's in that room to talk about it.
Right. And I don't feel like I know Walter Davis is wrong. He's 15 years, six-time All-Star, Rookie
Mhm.
of the Year, 78. Numbers retired by the Suns.
Yeah.
Number six is retired by the Suns. And he's in their Ring of Honor. I just don't feel like the argument for him versus I'm just gonna cover with the last player here, Michael Cooper.
Mhm.
Like Cooper's 8-time All NBA defensive team,
Yep.
5-time first team defensive player of the year in '87. Um, Played 12 years with the Lakers, major member of those 5 championship teams.
Mhm.
Like he was the guy who was guarding Bird. He was the guy who was guarding Dr. J. He was the guy who was like he was the 3 and D wing prototype, except for the fact he's 3 and D without really the three necessarily, because it wasn't as big a part of it. And except Cooper could also jump out of the freaking gym, right? So Cooper seems a much stronger candidate to me, even though his like numbers overall in terms of like points and everything aren't going to be as high as Davis, just
Right.
because I associate him more with winning and being an integral part of 5 championship teams.
But that's what he was paid to do. He was
Right.
not paid to score. He was paid to make sure that your
Uh,
your opponent didn't.
I, I agree, but in my head, like, and granted, again, I'm a Celtics fan, so Walter Davis, when I was born '79, so Walter Davis is '87, narking people out didn't really register with me. By the time I was really paying attention to basketball and Bird and everything, Davis was on his way down, and Cooper was still on all those Lakers teams I hated.
Right.
So, I mean, my perspective on this is going to be skewed. But Cooper also has, I don't know how much this matters, but he has a WNBA Coach of the Year. Back in 2000, he won back-to-back titles
Yeah.
with the
And
Sparks.
and that's a
He
great
won the chip.
question. And technically, from what we understand, it shouldn't,
Hmm.
because Michael Cooper could get in later on as a coach. And
Hmm.
we're going to be talking about somebody who's already in. Actually, we've got a couple people who are already in and through
Yeah,
different channels. So, in theory, if they're doing their job, then it doesn't matter at all. But we don't know.
right. But we don't know that.
I mean,
Right.
it's like Vinny Laspinus and I, like we were doing a series where we're looking at virtually every nominee. And we know that we can keep recording these because there's so many preliminary nominees. It's like a list of well over, I think maybe even close to 200, especially like in the international sections and
Hmm.
uh, veteran sections, which is also another
Hmm.
thing they changed because they used to be direct elect. They would say, okay, here's the committee, and then we're putting in one person. Now they're not doing that anymore. So it's almost like a parallel to what we saw in the football committee. And the senior committee puts people together, and then another group says, nah, because that's what we have here, which could be a little scary for some. Whereas before, I
Hmm.
think if they would have gotten in, but I don't think they're going to count it. I love Cooper as a candidate, and sometimes you have to look beyond the stats because there are times when you're not do. Cooper wasn't again. He wasn't paid to score. That it's not that he couldn't, but you're playing on a team with Kareem and Magic and Worthy.
Yeah. And still Byron Scott. Like, and
Right.
there are other people along the way too. Like Scott was the guy shooting the threes from the corner. Like it was not his job, right? But his job was like important. I brought up Dr. J. I mean, he guarded Isaiah. Like he guarded whoever you thought the best offensive player in the other team was.
Mhm.
Magic wasn't guarding him. Cooper was guarding him.
Right.
And that's something that I think that Cooper deserves to be in. I don't know if I kind of feel like Cooper. I kind of feel like this is a we put in Carter and Billups class, and then we save the others for when we need them later, sort of situation. Or they put in Carter and Cooper and save Billups for a later situation. You know what I mean? Um, I do think Carter's getting in. I think Mike Trace Billups is probably number two, Cooper's number three, and Walter Davis. I don't I maybe I'm wrong, but I just don't see the push for him anywhere.
Right.
I don't see the argument even compared to these other three. I don't see the argument for for Davis.
Mhm. Okay, so we've got Bo Ryan, who
Yeah.
has an incredible resume.
Yeah.
Already a Hall of Famer in the college basketball Hall of Fame. Took
Hmm.
Wisconsin Platteville to three Division three titles. Uh,
Hmm.
had a brief stay in Wisconsin, Milwaukee, and then with Wisconsin, didn't win it all, but went to two Final Fours, won four Big Tens, and four-time Big Ten Coach of the Year.
Mhm.
The resume's there already. I can see them putting him in.
Yeah, I think Bo Ryan's in.
Mhm.
I don't think there's any question. Bo Ryan, if you're looking at college basketball coaches who aren't in the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame, Ryan is the one that glaringly stands out. Again, would it surprise me if it was one player and Bo Ryan out of this group? No, not at all. Four-time Division III champions, member of the College Basketball Hall of Fame, back-to-back Final Four appearances, led them to the final once. And let me tell you, Wisconsin has not approached that at any other point in their history. And Bo Ryan, love him or hate him, his style of basketball is immediately identifiable and in many ways is kind of responsible for the way that Big Ten basketball tends to be, which is more, I guess, Bobby Knight was more as defense first, kind of the military sort of thing. Ryan took it a little bit differently, where it's very, very defense post play first sort of situation. And you can automatically tell a Bo Ryan coach basketball team, other than the fact they're wearing Wisconsin colors, sure, solely based on the way that they played. Um, and Yeah, I don't think there's any argument against Bo Ryan going in based on the qualifications of coaches who are in. Bo Ryan 100% deserves to be there.
Mhm.
He's the
The
strongest candidate. He's the strongest candidate of these six, even more than Carter
Yeah,
or Villa.
I would agree with that. Well, we're close to, but I mean, yeah, Ryan's getting in. The last one is a bit of a wild card because I love the story. I don't know. He wasn't on my radar at all. I'll be blunt on that. Charles Smith, who was a decent player in his own right, played 11 years, was a Big East Player of the Year at Pitt. Uh, but he's here because he created the NBPA Foundation to helping players in need, and then also formed the NBRPA, so National Basketball Retired Players Association. So he's giving back to all the people who helped pave the way. And as much as like a lot of people might think, well, why do a bunch of millionaires need a bunch of help? Because not all of them were millionaires.
I think you have a wrong Charles Smith, my friend.
Do I have the wrong Charles Smith? Because that might be
You
possible.
do.
That's the only Charles
Yeah.
Smith I could find in basketball. Who should it be?
No, so this is a Charles. You have the wrong Charles Smith.
Okay,
This is
more than happy to be wrong.
Smith is the all-time winningest high school basketball coach from Louisiana,
Well, that
the
makes
state of
more
Louisiana.
sense. Well, no
Yeah.
wonder I was befuddled by this. You know, this is one of
So
those
he
times where I
has
should edit.
guided his team, the Warhorse.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is one of those times I should edit out.
I'm sorry,
This is one of those times I should edit out my
you
embarrassment.
don't.
No, I'm not going to because I actually enjoyed reading about this Charles Smith. That sounded pretty cool to me.
There you go. So he started coaching at Peabody Magnet High School in 1985 and led the Warhorses to two perfect seasons in 2004, 2010. He went 41-0 in 2004.
Mm-hmm.
Is the ESPN National Coach of the Year in 2010, inducted Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame in 2019, the National High School Athletic Coaches Association Hall of Fame in 2021, and was a head coach of McDonald's All-American game in 2020. So this is one of those amateur coaches way down the list that we see every once in a while, who have trouble getting in just based off of name recognition. But like 8 state championships, if you're gonna have a high school basketball coach, he's been a basketball coach now coming up on 40 years out of Louisiana. All-time winningest coach in the state.
Yeah,
It's a pretty good.
name recognition. He didn't even come up when I do Charles Smith basketball. A
Yeah.
different one came up.
Yeah. So
Well,
I
I,
I I went I went to the NBA's. I'm at on the NBA's official announcement. So to make sure I had it.
I should. Yeah.
I
Oops.
I mean his name isn't that isn't is fairly common, so it's
The sad
possible.
thing is, I actually after you were doing that, then I remember writing about that, and then I just went back and just did a bunch of other things because it just didn't stick.
Got it. So
All right,
anyway,
well,
so I a
bit of
worthy nominee.
embarrassment.
Who knows if he gets in. So he's the least certainly has the least name recognition in the six.
Well, look at the egg on my face again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It actually looks like the yolk is on your shirt. It's the same color.
I got my Michigan tee on today.
Oh, nice. I got my Spiders shirt on.
There we go. Absolutely. More people will see
Right,
that
so
than Madam Web.
should we move to the women's committee finalists?
Yeah, we've got two. Simone Augustus, which
Mhm.
it's going to be pretty hard for her not to get in. I don't see how she doesn't.
Mhm.
Two-time College Player of the Year at LSU, four-time WNBA champion, eight-time All-Star, one-time first team, five-time second team, and named by the WNBA as a 20th and 25th anniversary team member.
Yep. First overall pick in 2006 draft too.
Right. So I don't see how this doesn't happen. She's the other one I'm not so sure about with Marion Washington.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not because there's not some deserving things here. I mean, 30-year run at Kansas, but never won. Never really came close. I mean, 560 wins to 360 losses, but the never won a tournament or like a major tournament. Two Sweet 16s, that she got. To be fair, that there wasn't a women's tournament the entire time that she was coaching because that was from 1973 to 2004, but there were other tournaments and she didn't win those either. It really can't come close. So I don't see it. Vinny and I were really big on Lita Andrews, who is,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's someone who I think I could speak for him on this one. That's sort of the one we both wanted to see in this
Mm-hmm.
spot. But I don't know. Marion Washington, it's gonna be a hard one for me.
Yeah. So other things out there, and again, this is a women's committee finalist, so it's not just our coaching or anything else.
Right.
She's also one of the first two African American women to compete in basketball internationally,
Mm-hmm.
and the first Black woman to ever to coach a U.S. team in international play. Um, so though I don't know how much those things have anything to do with it.
No.
She's also the first female president of the Black Coaches Association and was inducted to the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame in 2004.
Mm-hmm.
So there's other stuff there other than just her time with the Jayhawks. But again, yeah, Lita Andrews seemed to be a much bigger name to me too, because Lita Andrews has been nominated before. That may be part of it as
She
well.
has, yeah.
Yeah, she's been nominated multiple times before, so it may just be we need to give her a rest and give somebody else up here
That could
situation.
be. That could be.
So, but yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think I think you're right. Simone Augustus is just getting in. I mean, she might just get in on her college stuff.
And
So
and there are other women who we're going to get to. So even though this is the women's committee, we have two other women, or well, there's one other woman and then one person who's here because of coaching women.
right.
So
So do you want to go to the Veterans Committee?
yeah, yeah. So we have Dick Barnett. He's technically already in as a member of the Tennessee A&I teams that were inducted. They dominated the NAIA, winning
Yep.
titles 57, 58, and 59, and Barnett was their best player. So
Mm-hmm.
he's already got that college resume. Had a decent career in the pros, first with Syracuse, and then on a pay dispute, he bolted and played for the ABL in the Cleveland Pipers.
Mm-hmm.
Then that got all resolved. He was with the Lakers, but really he's best known for professionally for his time with the Knicks, where he brought a veteran presence to a team that won two titles, one in 70 and 73. Only a one-time All-Star, but when we're adding the whole college experience, and again, best guy on the most dominant team of his peers in the NAIA, it's a
Yeah.
good candidate.
Also has one of the coolest nicknames in all of sports, which is a skull. Skull Barnett.
It is a good one.
um,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think Dick Barnett's a very good person to look at this. His numbers retired by the Knicks, number 12. He's already, like you say, he's already a member of the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame with the Tennessee A&I Tigers that won the three back-to-back or won the back-to-back titles. Um, he's a good candidate. I don't know if they're going to put him in. Right? I mean, anything having to do with the Knicks championships tends to go well with the Hall of Fame. Um,
Well, and this is sort of where when we mentioned before how they don't do this as a direct elect anymore.
correct.
So they put forth two, whereas before they would just say, here's our one, and they're in
Yeah.
automatically.
Yeah.
So does that affect how they think? Again, we don't even know how they're thinking. Uh,
Correct.
the
So,
other
yeah.
veteran,
So
oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say I was just gonna say the other veteran. Go ahead.
Oh,
You
okay.
you
Yeah.
you
So
start.
the other veteran is also someone who would be in the I guess the women's veteran category. That's Harley Redden. He coached Wayland Baptist. He also coached the men's team, got them to a
Mhm.
151-88 record. But he's really here for his work with the women's team from 1955 to 1973. Overall record of 429 and 63 and six AAU titles.
Mhm. I have different numbers. I have 431 and 66, but still
Oh,
pretty good either
yeah,
way.
okay.
Doesn't matter. 429, 63, 431, 66.
All right.
Not a big deal. Well, still really good.
Okay. I mean, so like that's a better coaching candidate
Mhm.
than with Marion. And again, it's
I would agree with that. I'd agree
yeah.
he's a better coach candidate than Mary Washington is.
Mhm. So
But yeah, so Flying Queens of Whaling Baptist, 2 undefeated seasons,
mhm,
17 top five finishes, went 110-2 in his first 4 years at the
right.
school.
And those
Um,
teams have all usually often get nominated too. I don't think they're actually in the team,
Not yet.
but
They've
I
been
know
up
they've
there
been
before.
up on the prelim list many times.
Yeah.
So
So, but
it's
yeah,
a
he was.
candidate. They're on the radar in some capacity.
He also coached the U.S. women's national team in '59,
Hmm.
and then '71 Pan Am Games and '63 World Tournament in Peru. Uh, Recipient of the Jostens Berenson Service Award by Women's Basketball Coaches Association for a lifetime of service to women's basketball. Inducted the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame in '99, and won the Naismith Award for outstanding contribution to the game of women's basketball in 2000.
Hmm.
So, I mean, I honestly, I'm gonna be honest. Harley Redden's not a name that resonates with me a ton. But looking at his resume, I would put him as my veteran committee person over Dick Barnett as much as I love Skull Barnett.
Hmm.
I think Harley Redden's
Yeah,
bona fides are better.
but they could put in both. They could put
Oh,
in
they can put them both. They can put
or
neither. Who knows?
none. We don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
So we have our international candidate.
yep.
It's another very good one. There's so many great international candidates, and it's a shame they only do one or possibly none. So it's Michelle Timms, who was the first major star from Australia. And Australia, I think we can agree right now, is the number two power in women's basketball. But they
Mhm.
weren't always. And
Correct.
big reason why they got there is because of the work of Michelle Timms. So before the formation of the I should also mention she's already a member of the FIBA Basketball Hall of Fame and the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame.
Correct.
So already very
Any
well
any
decorated.
sport Australia Hall of Fame, just by the way.
Oh, I missed that. Okay, well, it stands to reason that she would be.
Yeah.
So internationally, took took the Lady Opals, or not Lady Opals, they just call them the Opals, to bronze in the '96 Olympics, silver in the 2000. Before the formation of the WNBA, she was a big star in club teams and was part of the first group of the formation of the WNBA. Got there late, so wasn't she wasn't in her best period, but still was an all-star in 1999. And the Mercury retired her number seven, second woman in basketball to have her number retired in the WNBA.
Mhm. Yeah,
So,
and also the first Australian male or female to play basketball outside of Australia.
oh, I missed
Um,
that. Okay.
yeah, so she suited up for Lotus München in Germany.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, if you're looking for an international person, it's hard to beat Michelle Timms. It legitimately is.
Yeah.
Complete trailblazer in her country, has the resume.
Right.
She should get in under the parameters that the Nations Hall of Fame uses. Michelle Timms should be an easy vote.
I think where she might have got here ahead of some of the other international candidates is just the word you just mentioned, is trailblazer. Because there's a lot of phenomenal international candidates. One that Vinny and I just looked at was Andrei Kirilenko. Uh,
Mm-hmm. AK-47.
right, right. So like he had a phenomenal career, but wasn't the first big thing to put Russian basketball on the map.
Mm-hmm.
In the NBA, he did, but there was a lot of good Russian basketball players. We just didn't see them because we couldn't.
Yeah, I mean, Arvydas Sabonis gets that
Sure. Yeah,
nomination.
right. So there's
So,
certainly a lot to look at. So there's three contributors.
all very interesting candidates. These three, I can see all three of them getting in.
I can too. I feel passionate about one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm intrigued about another, and I don't really have a lot to say about the third. So I
Yep.
guess I'll just start with the one I think should be in right now. That's Jerry West.
Yeah, Jerry West, the fact he's not in as an executive is flabbergasting.
I actually thought he was.
I did too.
And I should know this, but I just assumed it all that he was in before I even paid attention to the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame. I mean, look at everything he did. GM from 79 to 2000, architect really of that dynasty, 5 titles, and laid the foundations for the next one when he traded Divac for a young high school player who you may have heard of. His name is Kobe Bryant.
Yeah, no one remembers that Kobe Bryant was actually drafted by the Charlotte Hornets.
Right. Yeah. So, and at the time, I'm trying to remember what my initial reaction was. I mean, like Divac was just one of those players I think I gravitated to. He just seemed like no, well, there wasn't a whole lot of Europeans then. He had the beard. He just seemed he seemed like the kind of guy just like he'd sign an autograph and say, "Oh, is there anyone else you want me to sign it for?" I don't know if that's true or not, but he just seemed like the most likable guy. Uh, did well bring Memphis to respectability from 2002 to 2007. Won another ring with Golden State as an executive board member. I don't know what he did there.
Two rings technically.
There's 2
He
rings.
was there 15 and 17.
Oh, okay. And he's now with the Clippers, so he's still doing things in basketball. Maybe they should just do this as a mea culpa for how they portrayed him in.
Yeah, I know. But I mean, he drafted Magic, he drafted Worthy, he signed Shaq, he traded for Kobe, he hired Phil Jackson. He was there. I know that he was no longer GM in 2000, but he was still with the Lakers for 01 and 02, right? So he has technically 8 championships with the Lakers as a executive, not including the championship as the Lakers as a player. And then 2 more with the Warriors. Like, I don't understand how this man isn't in already. Like, I don't get it. He should have been in 20 years ago.
Well, that's sort of why this blew my mind, and I was more mad at myself that I got that wrong, of course, and I just did a 2 minutes on the wrong Charles Smith. So there you go.
Yeah. So yeah, Jerry West is the easiest vote of everybody on this entire list, even more than Bo Ryan, more than Michelle Timmons. Like, yeah,
I thought you'd say that too.
Yeah.
Doug Collins is interesting too because Vinny and I, we always like he always like to say the sum of the parts. And if you do the sum of the parts, like holy crap, then Doug Collins is a no-brainer. But we're not looking at that. We're only looking at him as a contributor. I mean, as a player, we got a 4-time All-Star, which that's impressive as it is. An All-American, a decent coach, never won anything big, but with Chicago, Detroit, Washington, Philadelphia, a winning record.
To be fair, his time with Chicago, where the Jordan was coming of age, he wasn't going to win anything with the Celtics and Pistons in the East, and then even if they got there, the Lakers in the West. Like that, those teams the Bulls were not ready yet when Collins was there.
Right, and it wasn't that he had any team that was going to win it all. Because I think when he had Washington, that's also when Jordan came back.
Yeah, he coached Jordan both places.
Right. So, but he's here mostly as a broadcaster. Worked everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere. CBS, NBC, TNT, TBS, ABC, ESPN. For a lot of us, he may not necessarily be the voice of our basketball, but he's one of the voices and faces we saw so much of.
Yeah. I think for me, Hubie Brown is the voice of basketball. But Doug Collins is right there with him. So I think he's a very, very interesting candidate. I can 100% see him getting in. I can understand if he doesn't get in. But Collins is a very West is a no-brainer. Collins is a very good candidate for them to have in this category.
Personally, the person I would have rather seen here is Johnny Red Kerr.
Okay.
Again, because a very similar resume, and I think he resonates more with a lot of people, especially in Chicago. But still, I have no problem with this. I hope he does get in. But again, if they're only looking at him as a broadcaster, and again, we don't even know how many votes they're allowed because every year it's a different amount.
Yeah, I have no idea.
We don't know, and they don't tell us. Hell,
Yep.
Evan and I, we're running our fake. Well, no, it's the Pro Football Hall of Fame Revisited project, and we're tinkering with rules, and already we're finding, my God, just trying to get
I'm
everyone on the same page is impossible.
I'm already frustrated with the rules. So as we're going through the first part here.
I'm trying,
So
buddy. I'm
I'm,
trying.
I'm frustrated by the rules and I'm frustrated by the rules and some of the attitudes. So some of them I was wrong on something originally, and I'll fully admit it that we were just putting five in every single time, and then we decided not to, and I actually have no problem with that now. But the senior pool is just driving me insane. So
Yeah, and it looks like that's gonna go for at least another year as we're doing this. We're in 1957 now.
yeah,
It's a fun project. If you want
yep.
to be a part of that, hit either Evan and I up. And just tell us why you'd like that. I guess we're closing off with. I'm not overly, maybe because I don't know that much about him, not being a Pacers guy. I don't hear
Mhm.
anything about him. That's probably a good thing because when you're an owner, usually you're only in the news because you did something stupid.
True.
It's Herb Simon, who I wasn't aware of this, but he's the longest tenured owner in the NBA
Hmm.
since 1983. Apparently, a great community guy in Indianapolis, beloved by a lot of people.
Yeah. I mean, he runs a franchise who's always been on the cusp of winning stuff, but has never actually won anything.
Mhm.
I mean, Jermaine O'Neal, Rick Smits, Reggie Miller, folks like that have played there. Now you got Halliburton and a few others. The Pacers have always been, the Pacers have never been terrible. Does that make sense? But they've never
Yeah.
climbed the top of the mountain either. Like the season the Pistons and the Wizards, season the Wizards is having, I feel like the Wizards have had this season like 10 times during my lifetime, right? You never see the Pacers in that situation. They're always acceptable. And it's hard for them to get people to come there, right?
Right.
We're going to talk about Indianapolis coming up in my good, bad, and ugly, um, and particularly when it relates to the All-Star game. But it's not a place where Indianapolis is not a place where people want to be in November and December. No offense to the city, right? It's just not a place people want to hang out if you're a young superstar.
Mhm.
And they are always competitive. They've made a finals. Um, and like you said, he doesn't rock the boat in any way, shape, or form. He's an interest candidate. I don't think he's the least likely of the three to get into me, but it's good to see him here. Again, it all depends on who's voting. Maybe if the whole bunch of owners vote, they vote him in. Who knows?
And that might be who's in it. We have no clue.
Yeah.
I want to touch briefly on the St. Louis Cardinals Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
So they've done something a little bit different than in the past. They've always done sort of like a fan vote, but what they've done differently is there's only four candidates this time, and you
Mhm.
can vote on that. I did. I'll tell you who I voted for. Uh, sorry, just one. So they have four people. You can vote for either Steve Carlton, Matt Morris, Edgar Renteria, and the person who I voted for, who I don't believe was on the ballot previously. I could be mistaken on that. George Hendrick.
Yeah. I read about this yesterday when you sent it over to me.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, at first blush, just like, yeah, this Steve Carlton, of course, is the best of these four players. There's no question about that. But I don't think of Steve Carlton as a Cardinal.
Right. I don't either. And
So,
go ahead.
so for me, if I just on first blush, and like Matt Morris is the guy of these four, I think of as Cardinal, mainly because I don't know George Hendrick that well. And I read about him after I saw everything. Edgar Renteria is for me most famous for two things. One, winning the 1997 World Series with a hit against the Indians, and two, being traded to the Red Sox in 2004 in the Nomar Garcia Parra deal. Sorry, he joined the Red Sox after in 2005. I apologize. But like he's the guy who took over for Orlando Cabrera in the great shortstop switch that we had. So David Eckstein went to the Cardinals. Um, Orlando Cabrera went to the Angels and Edgar Renteria came to the Red Sox. That all happened in the offseason of 2005. Three teams switched shortstops. Renteria, I think it was a Red Sox and a Marlin first. So for me, Matt Morris is the person who I'd go to, but explain Hendrick and why he is the person you thought of.
Well, Hendrick at the time was one of the bigger sluggers for the Cardinals. He had the winning hit in Game 7 in 1982 to win them the World Series. Uh, Silver Slugger, just this quiet demeanor, and he was a bigger part of a championship team to me. And
Mhm.
he's also never been on the ballot before, I don't think.
It says this is his second year.
Well, so is it second year on the ballot or second year of eligibility? No, good. No, second time on the ballot. Sorry, you're
Second
right.
time ballot. He's
Yeah,
been eligible for a while.
right. So we've seen the other ones before. Carlton multiple times.
So I have it right in front of me. Carlton, this is his seventh time on the ballot.
Okay,
Morris and Renteria, their ninth.
they're ninth. Okay, so that's who I vote. I mean, I can vote again, I suppose, if I want to. I just wanted to vote the one time and do that. But yeah, that's who I voted for. I don't have a problem with any of them getting in.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're all excellent candidates for it.
He
Carlton.
also had a game-winning RBI in a Game 7 of a World Series. He drove in the winning run in the 1982 World Series.
Yeah, right, right. I said, yeah.
Oh, I missed that. I'm sorry. I was
Okay,
reading.
no, all good. Yeah. So he did a lot of things. Was a popular player for a very good team. Loved in St. Louis, not anywhere else. Also, maybe because I've got his baseball card kicking around somewhere. And like you, Carlton to me is a Philly.
He's a Philly.
Wasn't the best pitcher at the time either. But then when you're with Bob Gibson, it's kind of hard to be until Carlton's career, in some ways, eclipsed Gibson. In some ways, it didn't.
Mm.
You know, like for example, we have Bob Gibson as a nominee for the United States Athletic Hall of Fame, and we didn't have Carlton.
Correct. Well, you know my opinion of Bob Gibson.
Yes,
If
I
I
do.
could draft anyone from the history of baseball, Bob Gibson's my first pick. And
Mhm.
I'm a Red Sox fan. Like
Absolutely.
Bob Gibson just was insane. I will build any pitching staff. Give me Bob Gibson and Pedro Martinez, and I don't care who the other 23 players are. So
Stubby Clap, we're seeing you have a chance.
Stubby Clapp, Rusty Kuntz, and all the other people whose names are a little bit
Vulgar.
different, vulgar. Yeah,
Yes.
Dick Cole.
Oh, I love it. So again, although congratulations to those four who've made it this far, but really congratulations again to the St. Louis Cardinals Hall. They were a little late
Did a
to the
good job.
dance, but they've done a phenomenal job. Whoever they elect will be joined by two other people, one from a red ribbon panel committee, I guess on a senior player, and the other one from, I don't know. I would imagine it's going to be an executive. It wasn't very clear.
Mm-hmm.
Just said that it would be basically something that management would elect. So
Yeah.
that could be really anybody.
So yeah, it's going to be interesting for that. Like I said, we both agree the two best run team Hall of Fames are the Patriots and the Cardinals.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
the Patriots one, by the way, is going to be interesting this year. I don't know if you saw that they're going to waive the waiting period for Brady. So they're going to do
Oh,
a
I
whole
missed
separate.
that. Okay.
You're doing a whole separate interesting thing with Brady, where he's going to have a separate ceremony in June. Kind of feel if I was Brady, I wouldn't want that. I just want like, unless he's worried he's going to take away from whoever it is. So I'm wondering if they're actually going to have a vote this year, or if it's just going to be Brady.
Mm,
So,
interesting.
but yeah,
Well,
but
that's a
we
good
shall see.
segue.
It'd be
So,
hilarious if they're Brady and Parcells. But anyway.
that's actually a
Um,
good segue because a very significant retirement took place in football
yes.
world with the Patriots, with somebody who has a very interesting Hall of Fame case. That's Matthew Slater.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he's the best special teams player of all time, but we can safely say he's the most decorated.
He's the most decorated Hall of Fame or of all, sorry, most Hall of Famer. He's going to be a Patriots Hall of Famer. I have no idea about any of that. So he'll be first ballot Patriots Hall of Fame
Mhm.
when he comes out. I don't know if he's the best special teamer of all time. He's certainly the best special teamer of his era. He did benefit from having a coach who cared about special teams probably more than any coach in league history with
Mhm.
Belichick. Belichick started as a special teams coordinator under Ted Marchibroda back at the Colts when he was first starting out his career. Um, Slater is, I was hoping Slater would give us one more season just to help Mayo with the transition over. He and Gerard Mayo were teammates for years. Um, but he retired at the age of 38 here in 2024. His father is probably a little more famous than he is, Jackie Slater,
Mhm.
the Hall of Famer. At one point, Jack Slater in the most consecutive. He had the most consecutive games played in NFL history. I don't know if he does anymore. I don't think he does. But Matthew Slater is ostensibly a wide receiver, technically. But he made his entire mark on special teams. And there are very few non-kick returners that you have to game plan for when it comes to special teams. Slater was that guy. Well, I want to look something up. What is your opinion of Slater as an outsider?
To get into the Hall?
No, just as a player in general, and how
player in general. I don't know. He's absolutely fantastic. I mean, everything you said is spot on. A lot of the time when you're in that special teams role, you're there because you're not considered necessarily good enough to be in one of the other ones, and you're just sort of like filling in. Your stars are not usually doing a lot of special teams because you can't risk that. Slater was the exact opposite. He thrived in that role. He was great at it. He was this generation's Steve Tasker. Yeah. And that's what sort of scares me about his Pro Football Hall of Fame chances. Tasker never made the finals.
Well, Tasker never made the finals, but the interesting thing now is I wonder what Hester does for Slater. Nothing. And I know you don't think it does anything?
No, because it's a completely different type of special teams.
It's entirely possible. The one thing, and again, Tasker didn't have this opportunity because there wasn't a special teams position. But I want to read you the following names: Joe Thomas, Lawrence Taylor, Mike Singletary, Joe Schmidt, Barry Sanders, Jim Ringo, Mel Renfro, Leo Nomalini, Ronnie Lott, Joe Green, Aaron Donald, Aaron Rodgers, Matthew Slater. Those are the players with 10 Pro Bowls in their career. All of those guys I named are Hall of Famers, except for Rodgers, Donald, and Slater, because they were still active.
Right.
Everyone who has more than 10. Oh, I'm sorry. I missed Johnny Unitas. Is also 10-time Hall. Everyone more than 10 has 11 or more than 10 is in the Hall of Fame if they're eligible. The other ones have more than 10 are not in the Hall of Fame. Brady, Breeze, Trent Williams, Jason Witten, who becomes eligible next year, Larry Fitzgerald. Everybody else who has at least 10 is in the Hall of Fame. How much? That's one of the things that's going to differentiate him from Tasker. But I don't know. Again, it's going to be very, very interesting because it's a position they've never done before. I heard someone say, "What, we're going to put every long snapper in?" And I'm like, well, if there's a long snapper who is somehow good enough, then sure. But just the idea that a position isn't as glamorous as something else, therefore it's not worthy, is a weird argument to make. You know what I mean? So yeah. I think if anyone's ever going to have a chance at his position, it's Slater. Slater will be an absolute first ballot Patriots Hall of Famer when it comes up. Belichick has said that he coached the 3 greatest players in NFL history: the offensive with Brady, the defensive with Lawrence Taylor, and special teams with Slater. So I don't know how any of this is going to work. It's going to be interesting. My guess is he's a semifinalist his first year. I don't know if he gets to be in the finals, but he will be a semifinalist.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, like Shane Leckler hasn't cracked the semis, but then again, we already have. Maybe there's no sense of urgency because they've already got the punter in a hall. They don't have anyone like to your point. There's nobody like Matthew Slater. Nobody, no one close.
Yeah, but again, Tasker's problem was Tasker probably had multiple All Pros and Pro Bowls, except there's no position for a special teamer at that time on those teams. So he's going to make an all-decade team, right? He'll be in the did he already made the 20?
No, he already did. He already did the 20.
Sorry, he was also on an all-decade team.
Yeah.
So we'll see exactly what this means. But
and
regardless,
he has 6 rings, right?
I'm sorry.
He has 6 rings, doesn't he?
No, he's got. He played 15 years. Okay. So 2023 that brings back to 2008. So he's only got the 3.
The 3. Okay. So yeah. So he wasn't worth the first 3. So so he's got the.
He went to 6 Super Bowls.
Okay.
But he won. Yeah, he would have been on the 11. 5 Super Bowls. 5 Super Bowls he went to. So he went to 5 Super Bowls. Yeah, 5 times Super Bowler, went to 1-3, captain of a championship team. We'll see. I I don't think he's a slam dunk Hall of Famer.
No.
I think he's got as good a candidacy as anyone in his position. I'll be interested to see if they ever put Tasker up as a senior committee. What happens with that? Particularly after they've rejected people this time. Um,
Yeah, I
but
think that window's closed for him.
it may be. It may very well be. So again, there are a few differences between him and Tasker: the Pro Bowls, the All Pros, the championships. Um, so we shall see how it goes going forward. And the idea that he was by far the greatest player in his position and in all decade team. So that he's far the greatest player in his position for a full decade. So we'll see exactly how that works. But Matthew Slater appreciation here. I
Yeah,
hope he sticks around the Patriots this year on Mayo's staff or as an advisor or something.
that's what I was just gonna say, because if he does,
Mhm.
and then sort of remains in that spotlight, and we've seen that before, even if it's as a coach, usually it helps you more if you're an analyst. But
Mhm.
if you remain in that football limelight, however bright or dim it may be, it never hurts you. I mean, like we've looked at like a lot of people who, like when we did our mock committee, a lot of people who we talk about and push are people who aren't out there, who aren't in
Mhm.
the media,
Right.
who aren't
Right.
were content with their life. Like, okay, I played some football. I don't need to tell everybody about it for that. Or
Yeah.
they didn't pursue a career in broadcasting, or maybe they didn't have
No, I
the
mean,
full effluvia to do it. I don't know.
well, I mean, my whole thing with Kevin Williams, which anyone who knows his channel knows that that's the hill
Yeah.
I'm going to die on, is Kevin Williams has never even been a semifinalist. Like, let's just take Rodney Harrison, right? Rodney Harrison, the Patriots Super Bowl championship season, they put in Ty Law, they put in Richard Seymour, they've decided Rodney Harrison's next. Is Rodney Harrison significantly better than Vince Wilfork or Willie McGinnis or a few other people? Not necessarily, but Rodney Harrison's on TV all the time.
Mm-hmm.
He's part of the group with Tony Dungy. Like he is there all the time. Devin McCourty is going to be helped by the fact he's one of the guys from NFL Network, right? So it's going to make a difference long term. I do think that makes a difference. Kevin Williams has never been on TV. He doesn't even have social media.
Right.
Like the guy is just as might as well be invisible to folks. He's not in front of anyone. So I think that does have something to do with it. Slater is a very, very insightful man.
Mm-hmm.
Like very, he's a very, very bright man, and I think would do a great job breaking stuff down. Even if they had him, like how they have the referee on call for anything. They had like the special teams guy on call for broadcasts.
That would be a great idea.
Yeah, like hey, because guess what? They don't pay any attention to
Mm-hmm.
special teams because none of those guys cared about it. If
Mm-hmm.
they had him there, it might make a big difference. I don't know. Um, he's
That's
just
actually a
he's the
really
first
good
ballot
idea.
Patriots Hall of Fame.
Yeah, you have like one network sort of like have him for that, and he's just sort of like watching around. Yeah, why the hell not?
Why the hell not? Just have him like, hey, can you explain what's going on in the special teams part? You'd be like, yeah, sure. Here's how it works. That'd be kind of cool. So, anyway, I don't know. Slater, great guy. I hope he makes the Hall of Fame. He'll 100% make the Patriots Hall of Fame.
Mhm.
Um, and he does have some people. He does have some accolades and bona fides, as I like to say. That at least today I do. That's the second time it's come up. I almost said it a third time and stopped myself. That put him above Tasker,
Mhm.
um, in terms of likelihood of getting in, but I still think Tasker's somebody who should have gotten more consideration than he did.
Mhm.
So,
There we go.
but like we've talked about, the way the system works, the same people get churned through and through and through and through, and a bunch of people just never get talked about. And then we end up in a situation like I can't remember who said it. It was Schefter said, what made this person different now that they weren't a Hall of Famer earlier? And I'm like the reason is because they never got talked about earlier. Nobody ever talked about them because of the way the system is set. They
Yeah.
never had a chance. Brandon Gradishar was in the room a few times, which is cool, but like we have all sorts of great players who have never even been in the room to be discussed because of
Mhm.
the way the system works.
And
So,
then Albert Lewis comes out of nowhere.
mhm.
Uh, Nothing, and it's not that we're saying anything against Albert Lewis's candidacy. We're not saying that at all. But how does he finally get a look at year 20? And a very good
Yeah,
one
I
at
don't know.
that, apparently. But it's an interesting process, and we'll, as much as hell, we're trying to mock committee trying to fix it. And it's not as easy as I thought it'd be.
Yeah, that's one of the things I've learned from all these mock things. We participate in the mock Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, both of us.
Mhm.
Um, and it's just there's no way to make everybody happy, is what it
No,
comes down to.
no. I'm
So,
the head of this one, and I can honestly say that I've shook my head a few times, but that's okay. I mean,
yep.
it's the whole idea though is to actually get more people in by the time we sort of catch up, which I'm sure we will, and eliminate a bit of a clog. And it's going to be really interesting once we get to 1963, which is when the Pro Football Hall of
Mhm.
Fame really did begin. I think looks like I'm going to be doing that for baseball after all. I'm doing some prelim thoughts on that, so
Mhm.
you're voluntold to be in that one, by the way.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. There you go. So we're going to get on to two more sections. Well, usually there's three, but I don't have a whole lot for the elevator. So the elevator up, elevator down. So I'm going to I'm not just going to like
We'll go that
crowbar
one.
something into it that I'm not that passionate about. Lord knows I've been passionate about enough stuff over the last month. It's kind of nice to take a mental break from it. To
I
be,
get it.
yeah. So
I get it.
you're gonna tell us about some of the people that we lost that are pretty important to our little sphere.
Yes, and I will happy to say that the beige mistress is on vacation this week. So
All right.
Hungarian athletes, you can sleep soundly in your beds.
Mhm.
First one, the oldest woman in the United States passed away. Edith Cesarelli passed away at the age of 116 years and 17 days. So I don't know who the oldest next oldest person is now. It's the second oldest. She was the second oldest living person in the world. So there you
Whoever
go.
that is, they're probably running for president.
Yeah, she outlived six siblings. She's the oldest of seven kids. So
Mhm.
six younger
Wow.
siblings, two husbands, a daughter, and three grandchildren. She outlived. So, from the world of interesting people, before we get into everything else, Ramona Fraden, one of the uh, how do I put her? One of the pioneers of illustration work. She did Aquaman and Brenda Star Reporter. She also
Mhm.
created Metamorpho, the superhero. She passed away in 20. She passed away at the age of 97, but one of the first female comic book artists out there.
Okay.
Worked for years and years and years. Member of the Women's Cartoon Hall of Fame from
Hmm.
1999, and a member of the Eisner Award Hall of Fame in 2006.
Eisner,
But
like
she,
Michael Eisner.
it's the Disney Eisner.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
Michael, isn't it?
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So, but yeah, that's the award. They have the Eisner Award for animation. So she's a member of the Hall of Fame for that from 2006. Also passed away. Matt Sweeney passed away at the age of 75. He won three technical achievement awards of the Academy Awards. So he created the automatic capsule gun, which simulates bullet hits, and did a bunch of other stuff. But he's best known for his Goonies, among other things.
Oh.
So he was a special effects guy for Goonies, Apollo 13, Galaxy Quest, Fast and Furious, Tokyo Drift, Lethal Weapon 2, Furious, Fast and Fast 5, and Furious 7, among others. But yeah, he one of the greatest special effects artists of all time. He passed away at the age of 75. Um, we also lost a couple of character actors who I have to bring up. Tony Ganios, best known as Perry from The Wanderers or Meat from Porky's. Do you remember
Oh, I
that?
remember that.
Yep. And also, I think of him as the forgotten movie in the Die Hard series to me is Die Hard 2 with the plane in Chicago and everything. He is the sort of head bad guy who got or the head henchman who got killed with the icicle through the eye, which is one of the bigger deaths I can remember in movie watching as a kid. But he passed away at the age of 64.
Oh, that makes me
He
feel
also
so
was in
old that the
Rise.
Porky's guys are in their 60s.
Yeah. But yeah, he was also in Rising Sun and a few other things. He played a lot of like bad guys in different movies. Um, So, and also bigger to me, probably bigger to you too. Paul D'Amato passed away, uh, better known as the bad guy from Slapshot.
Mm-hmm.
So he was 77 years old. He had progressive supranuclear palsy, a rare brain disease that
Mm.
he fought for 4 years. But yeah, he passed away at the age, as I said, of 74. All right. From the world of music. 1 second, just close a couple of these tabs so my actually let me close that tab so that my computer runs a little bit faster. World of music, Randy Sparks, the founder of the New Christie Minstrels and Back Porch Majority, passed away at the age of 90. Guitar banjo guy from mostly in the 50s. A lot of hits in the 50s with Green Green for Barry McGuire, did Today for New Christie Minstrels, a whole bunch of stuff like that. So also wrote Saturday Night Toledo, Ohio, which was a John Denver song. I don't know if you remember that one.
I'm not, no.
So, but he was 90. Also passing away, Ronnie Stoneman, the banjo player on Hee Haw from back in the day. She played the youngest daughter of Pop Stoneman. So one of the earliest, most famous family groups in early country music. Won the Country Music Association Award for Vocal Group of the Year in '67. Was inducted in the International Bluegrass Music Hall of Fame in 2021 with the rest of her family. She passed away at the age of 85. Cynthia Struther, a member of the Bell Sisters. Do you remember them from the 50s? They had a couple of pretty big hits
No,
from back then.
I do not.
She passed away at the age of 90. She and her sister, Kay Struther, didn't want to go under their last name, so they went under their mom's maiden name, and the Bell Sisters thought it would work better as a singing group. But she passed away, as I said, at the age of 88. Bobby Tench, sideman for Freddie King, Van Morrison, the Jeff Beck Group, Humble Pie, the Streetwalkers, and many more. He passed away at the age of 79, well-known guitar player. Adeline DeBarge, the matriarch of DeBarge, the DeBarge family. She passed away at the age of 88. Gospel singer, matriarch of the R&B group DeBarge. Do you remember? I'm trying to remember DeBarge's biggest hit, but it's not coming to me off the top of my head.
Well, let's just say she passed away to the beat of the rhythm of the night.
That's it. Thank you. Yep. So she and her husband were married for 21 years and had 10 kids.
Mm.
Two of whom, Bobby DeBarge and Tommy DeBarge, have already passed away. But yeah, so they had there's Ederline, Bundy DeBarge, Randy DeBarge, Marty DeBarge, El DeBarge, James DeBarge, Chico DeBarge, Peaches DeBarge, and Young DeBarge are all still alive. But she was the matriarch of the family, and she passed away at the age of.
One of the kids was named Young.
Yeah, he was a twin too. His Peaches and Daryl were married, or no, were twins, and he's the young one.
Peaches
So,
and Daryl. Okay.
Carol, it's Carol and Daryl.
Oh, well, okay.
So Carol was Peaches and Daryl was young, but she was 88 years old.
Okay. All right.
Also, Ben Lanzarone passed away. You do not know him, but you know all of his work if you watched any television from 1979 through 1990.
And
Basically, all the background music for Dynasty, Happy Days, Love Boat, Mork and Mindy, Mr. Belvedere, Vernon Shirley, Tracy Ullman Show, Vegas, Glitter, like a whole bunch of them. All that background music, not the theme songs, but the music that played during the show. He is the one who wrote it. So he passed away at the age of 85. So there you go. I
wonder if he got royalties for that. Probably not, because they weren't really giving royalties to much of the actors then either. So
yeah, I don't know. He also was the musical director for the original Broadway production of Grease, and he toured with Frank Sinatra, Petula Clark, and Art Garfunkel at different parts during his career. So that is a man who had an interesting career. Ben Lanzarone passed away at the age of 85.
Get him drunk, and then he'll tell you all about the times that Art got drunk trashing Paul.
Yeah, well, that'd be exciting. Wide receiver Golden Richards, member of the 19 73 through 77 Dallas Cowboys, won in Super Bowl 12, also played with the Bears and Broncos. He passed away at the age of 73.
Yeah, not a lot of it, but when I'm doing all the retro football stuff, which we're finally going to get some of those out soon. Been watching a bit of Golden.
Yeah, so he was at BYU in Hawaii, second round pick for the Cowboys. Wore number 22 in college in honor of Bob Hayes, because he was the fastest guy on the team, and Bob Hayes was the fastest guy in the NFL. But yeah, so he passed away at the age of 73. Second, make sure I have. Also passed away, Fulton Kuykendall, 10-year career in the NFL with the Atlanta Falcons and San Francisco 49ers as a linebacker. Played with the Falcons from 75 to 84 and the Niners in 85. Sixth round pick out of UCLA in 1975. He passed away at the age of 70. Nicknamed Captain Crazy with K's for both on by his teammates, known for his apparent disregard for his body, launching himself into blockers of ball carriers whenever he could. So
he's so crazy he can't spell correctly.
Exactly right. Well, from basketball, we lost Robert Reed, player with the Rockets from 77 through 82, also 83 through 88. Played for the Charlotte Hornets and their inaugural team, 88-89, and the Trailblazers. But he passed away at the age of 68. Also passing away, Robert Husher, the bobsledder for the U.S. in the 1968 Olympics, and won a bronze in 1969 World Championships at Lake Placid. He passed away at the age of 86. Gene, I'm pretty sure, I don't know if it's Jean Guy Talbot or Jean-Guy Talbot, but he passed away, a 7-time Stanley Cup winner with the Canadiens.
That was Jean-Guy Talbot.
Jean-Guy Talbot, excuse me. Remember, 52 through 71, played with the Canadiens, North Stars, Red Wings, Blues, and Sabres. Also coached the Blues and the Rangers. But he passed away at the age of 91. So there cannot be many guys left from those Canadiens teams in certainly the 55, 56 team. We won the championships with them in 55 or 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 65, and 66. So I can't imagine that many guys left, like I said, from those teams. But also a all-star in 62 and first team all-star in 62, playing the 56, 57, 60, 62, 65, and 67 all-star games. And the biggest name we lost this week by far, college basketball coach Lefty Driesell. Passed away at the age of 92, 786 and 394 in college. Won the 1972 NIT championship when the NIT still mattered almost as much as the NCAA tournament did. Two-time ACC Coach of the Year in 75 and 80. Four-time SoCon Coach of the Year from 63 to 66. Two-time Colonial Athletic Association Coach of the Year in 90-92. And the Atlantic Sun Coach of the Year in 2001. So he was a Coach of the Year in 4 separate conferences. Won 2 ACC regular season tournament titles. Won 1 ACC tournament. 5-time SoCon title. 3-time SoCon tournament. Won the CAA tournament in 94. 5 times in the regular season. Won 4-time regular season titles in ASUN and the ASUN tournament. Was the FIBA Intercontinental Cup champion in 1974. A member of the College Basketball Hall of Fame in 2007 and the Basketball Hall of Fame in 2018. Oh, don't mention his schools, by the way. So he was the coach at Davidson from 60 to 69, Maryland from 69 to 86, James Madison from 88 to 96, and Georgia State from 97 to 2003, as well as being the assistant athletic director at Maryland at one point in his career. There's not much you could say about Lefty Driesell that he did not do in college coaching. He's the guy, one of the guys Krzyzewski looked up to. Krzyzewski used Driesell for a lot of things for a long time. Just an absolute legend in college basketball.
It took him a long time to get into the Basketball Hall of Fame. When he passed away, I don't know if the Hall put it up, but it was easy to. Either way. So I watched his induction speech, and man, they waited a long time to put him in because that was only a few years ago.
Yeah, well, it was college was 2007. It was 2018 for
Right.
us. He's the first coach to ever win 100 games at 4 different schools.
Which is crazy.
So when he retired in 2003, he was the 4th winningest Division I men's basketball coach. He had 21 seasons of at least 20 wins, 21 conference or regular season and conference tournament titles, and played at Duke as an undergrad. So Charles Grice Lefty Drizel, 92 years old, absolute legend of coaching, and by far the biggest loss this week for our purposes. So.
Okay. So we'll close off as always with the good, the bad, and well, you say ugly, but I think the way you sort of pitched it earlier is it the good, the bad, and the undeserving?
No.
Nope.
It's
Okay.
gonna be the good, the bad, and the ugly. I'm gonna start with the bad.
Okay.
I know I bring up Silky Johnson quite a bit, which is what can I say? The line from the Chappelle show. What can I say about that quote that hasn't been said about Afghanistan? I kind of feel like we're at that point with Rob Manfred. I mean, we've been at that point for a while, but these uniforms that he's defending, the bottoms are legitimately see-through. The shirts aren't great. They look crappily made, but the pants are legitimately see-through. Now, maybe they see like, oh, I don't know, there's a whole bunch more women watching football because of Taylor and, we want to try and capture the women's market or something. I don't know, but this is freaking embarrassing. He announced he's going to retire in 2029, by the way, which is hilarious. Like I'm announcing right now that I'm going to retire in I don't know. Let's see, what year is it now? 2047, just for the heck of it. I don't just throwing in time out there. Like, who cares if you're retiring in 6 years? Why do you even have a job now? He does not care about the sport.
There was a Seinfeld episode where Costanza sort of like got them cotton uniforms or something, and then which was great until it rained.
Until it rained, yeah.
Yeah.
This is very much. There've been multiple Curb Your Enthusiasm recently. But like this, like in real life, that could have been a Curb episode. This seems like a real life Curb episode to me, where it just I don't get.
Yeah. So it's like let's come up with something that is universally despised by the entire league and is laughed at by everybody, and that's what we come up with.
And also I don't like the unilateral reducing of the pitch clock by another 2 seconds with runners on base that they did. I understand the pitch clock was awesome last year. People loved it, but changing it right away without giving players a little time to adjust, I think is a mistake. And Tony Clark was pretty adamant about that over the weekend. But yeah, just everything about what he does is just bad. He does not like the sport. And the pitch clock thing has saved him. But like the sport is dying on the vine under his thing. Like who's the biggest draw for baseball right now?
Ohtani.
Like who's the face of baseball?
Ohtani.
Ohtani.
Yeah.
Okay. So all the draws for baseball are all with the Dodgers? Because who's second? Because Trout doesn't talk. Is it Mookie Betts?
I didn't say Trout. Well, Trout's also not gonna he's starting to fall apart.
He's starting to fall apart. Trout may go his entire career playing one playoff game.
That's very possible. That is very, very possible.
So
no, Otani's the face of it, but again, so you have the face of it who I don't know how well his English is. I don't know if he can speak it. I don't know if he can understand it, but he doesn't do a whole lot of interviews. We know that much. I know when you say the second one, you're thinking of Mookie Betts.
Yeah, or maybe the third one's Clayton Craig. Clayton Craig.
For sure.
I can talk.
Yeah,
Clayton Kershaw.
yeah,
Yeah, and all three are on the same freaking team.
yeah. I don't know. I mean, like there's
There are no Cubs that matter. There are no Cardinals that matter. No Yankees that matter. I guess Judge, I guess,
Redwood, yeah.
but he doesn't talk much either. And no Red Sox that matter. Like they're like all the teams that have draws. I guess the Astros matter to a certain extent, but nobody cared about them until a decade ago. So they don't have the cachet. It's just there's no like one for anyone to get behind on any of these teams.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're making like there was a good point here. So let's take it. I'll just take a random, not random because he's going to be first ballot Hall of Famer, Justin Verlander.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't know this for sure, but I'm sure if I checked that Justin Verlander's social media or just not the just overall knowledge for people under the age of 40 is probably lower than whoever is the 20th best basketball player.
Oh, I'm sure that's true.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's true.
So,
I think you're being kind.
well, I'm just throwing this off the top of my
Yeah,
head.
I'm agreeing with you. I'm just saying I think you're being kind. I think you could go well past 20. So, I mean, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure you get into the 20s. We're probably talking what, like the Jalen Browns, the people like that. Like those, I'm sure Jalen Brown's got way more than
Yeah, I would,
Verlander does.
I would think so.
So
Hell, there's the what is that? The guy who does
Halliburton's got to have
goldfish,
more than he does.
the guy who does the goldfish commercial.
I don't know.
The big giant 7 foot three
Oh,
silver.
Boban.
Yes. I don't know that I can't remember the last time I ever saw him play. I don't even know if he still plays.
He's the my giant of this situation.
Yeah,
The George
exactly.
Mirasan. He's a charismatic George Mirasan.
A sentence never thought anyone would utter back then, but yes, here we are. But that's
But
true.
and
Hey,
yeah,
Bob?
but anyway, he wouldn't surprise if he does either.
Yeah.
Heck, I don't know, Taco Fall might. But anyway, so that's just bad. Like everything he does sucks. And this baseball uniform thing is just like it's not ugly because everything else he does is ugly, but this is just freaking embarrassing. It is
It is
embarrassing.
embarrassing.
And then he's getting up there defending them. Like clearly the way he defended them too is just like so awkward. Like, oh, we did, we this is Nike uniforms. They may be Nike uniforms, but they're done by fanatics who's well known for their cheap ass material and lacks standards of doing stuff. So congratulations, you saved some money and got more egg in your face than Kirk has on his shirt. So there we go. Just bring up your thing from earlier with the yellow and the everything else. Anyway, all right, so that's my bad.
It was
Ugly.
egg on my head or egg on my face
And
because
then I went down, whatever.
I researched the wrong damn Charles.
The ugly.
Yeah. All right, go ahead.
Cancel the NBA All-Star game.
Yeah, they had it right once before when they did what is I don't even know how you call that, but like they set a number and then you sort of like have to like play towards that.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Yeah. Yeah. They, I mean, Kevin Durant said that the shot making on the East was absolutely incredible. And I'll agree with him. They were hitting in 30 and 40 footers. But did anyone play any sort of defense?
No. And why would they?
They shouldn't. They should put Marcus Smart on one team and Draymond Green on the other team. And they have to play the entire game. And just they get to foul, like bring him